Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to The Correct Views. Sam I.B. reporting for TheMediaSpeaks.com. Alright guys, before I get into this, I'm not saying that all police officers are bad, or even that we don't need police officers. I'm saying this. First and foremost, we're seeing more and more and more. Where remember when we were learning about Islam, many of us, radical Islam I should say, after 9/11, that there was a divide between people that understood that most Muslims are not terrorists, but that even if maybe 5% of them were, that we're talking about millions of people. That's an analogy, I would say, to the growing police abuse problem that is prevalent in America and throughout a lot of the Western world. The very small percentage is making up a very large number. The other thing is there are too many rules that are designed to put as many people behind bars as humanly possible to generate money for the state, to generate money to get basically slave labor out of the prisoners of all races. I don't mean that as a racial comment, because there's white slaves, Oriental slaves, anybody that's locked in prison and they're so happy to get out of their cage that they could, work and make something. That by its very definition is a slave. Now, I'm not saying that some people do not deserve to be in prison or in jail. I'm saying that it's becoming a greater and greater number of people here that do not. We're seeing nonviolent drug offenders and so many crimes without a victim, as people say. And to people that say there is no victimless crimes, you are mistaken. A few of these stories are from InfoWars. Arkansas police add saliva test to check for drugs and alcohol is one of them. It's by Julie Wilson. A new Arkansas state law, and that's where my girlfriend's family lives, sponsored by Senator Jake Files, passed in March but went into effect July 17th, allows law enforcement to test an individual's saliva for drugs and alcohol. Now, for those of you that think, oh, that's good, we can get more offenders off the road, there's two problems. I'll get to the second one after the article if I don't get myself sidetracked. Do you believe, as you pledged in school, growing up, most of you, do you agree that the rights that we have are given to us by our Creator, as stated in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, that they are inalienable? Okay, then if you believe that they are from God, if you believe that they are from the Creator, or if you believe that you were born with them, if you don't believe in God, then it's not up to the government to decide that you should not be secure in your person, which is part of the Fourth Amendment. How can you be secure in your person when people can go and take spit out of your mouth by force? The test that originated in Sebastian County is popular in Europe and is slowly gaining acceptance in the U.S. Channel 5 News reports that Lieutenant Alec Marks and the Sebastian County Sheriff's Department was the driving force behind the new legislation. Not only is Marks behind the brand new law, it says, but he is a distributor of the product. Marks is selling the test called Oral Tox, created by Premier Biotech at, and it gives the sites, it's GOTCHADWI.com, for $25 per case at $298.75. So his company is selling a product for almost $300. You get 25 of them. And then you set up checkpoint and starts harassing people and pulling over people that were never ever a problem. And again, I'm going to get to why the DUI laws are rigged. Madness. This guy is, and these places in general, these police officers, our leaders are setting up ways where they get paid to incarcerate you whether you've done anything wrong or not. Do you understand? The lieutenant of Sebastian County Sheriffs has put in place measures to where every time someone gets one of these oral tox mandatory saliva tests, his company is making $298.75 per case. And nobody cares. Oh, but Sam, it keeps us safer. The lieutenant recommends the test for employers, schools, coaches, police departments, parole, probation, and drug courts. I bet he does. I recommend that you donate to this show and give me your rent. Arkansas News reports an officer puts the saliva test kit in the suspect's mouth for approximately 4 minutes, and you can read how it's done. It says that they're 94 to 99% accurate. Where is the outrage? A God-given right says that you have a right to be secure in your person. Does it or does it not? Second of all, and so many people like to make this argument, well, it catches drunk drivers. First of all, here's what they do. They'll say that there is a certain percentage of accidents where alcohol is a factor. Or what they do is they set the legal drinking limit so low at .08 that has zero effect on any of the population except very small people and people with no alcohol tolerance. Those people would have gotten in an accident, the same accident, with the same likelihood, even if they had not been drinking. Alcohol was not a factor just because alcohol was in their body, any more than carrot juice would be if it was. Because the laws are rigged to give sober people DUIs so that things like this can generate money for the state. And don't give me that BS where you see the guy on the news and he drives the car and suddenly it emulates what a drunk driver is. That is false. They rig the car and say that that's what it's like. And most of the America watching it, most average Kesha fans are too stupid to figure out they're being lied to. Low-level DUIs are perfectly sober, as are a majority of second-tier DUIs. I'll stand by that. abcnews.go.com. I'm going to go ahead and call this up. Missouri driver sues city over ticket for speed trap warning. God bless this man. A Missouri man says his free speech rights were violated when he was given a ticket for flashing his headlights to warn oncoming drivers of speed trap. Michael J. Eli was driving in Elastville, Missouri last year when he saw a police officer parked alongside the road tracking speeds with a radar gun, which should be illegal, by the way. Eli flashed his headlights to warn oncoming drivers to slow down, his attorney Grant R. Doty told ABC News. It's like when you are on a vacation and you stop at a truck stop and mention to a person there that you saw a speed trap a mile down the road, Doty said. It is the exact same thing, by the way. The police officer, identified as John Doe in the lawsuit, pulled Eli over in March 2012 and issued a ticket for violating a local law against flashing lights on certain kinds of vehicles. No reasonable officer would find that Eli violated the law, according to the suit, adding that Doe wrote the ticket in retaliation for having engaged in expression conduct protected by the First Amendment. Exactly. There is a growing animosity towards anybody that stands up against the unfair treatment and the illegal treatment and the heavy-handed treatment that is regularly given to U.S. citizens at the hands of law enforcement. In response to Eli's lawsuit, the city of Ellisville told the court that it has directed its officers not to issue tickets to motorists who flash their headlights on and off in both the emergency and non-emergency situations. Thank God. Absolutely wonderful to hear. And it's time that more and more people get outraged and simply make it impossible for the police to do this. How? I've been saying it forever, people. Unity, unity, unity. We get together, and let's say 5 million people live in a city. We're just going to pick a number. There are 3 million of them driving. If you can get 1 million people to refuse to pay any ticket whatsoever under any circumstances, then the law will only be able to go after those who were, of course, the most egregious offenders. They can't arrest everyone. They tell you to come to court, you don't go. They take your license, you keep driving. They can't put all of us in jail. And at the same time, they can't take doctors, cooks, ditch diggers, DJs, authors. You can't take everybody out of society. And if you're losing a third of the driving public, considering the rest are elderly, children, or the infirmed, you would shut the city down if you tried to enforce these laws and these tickets. That's how you stop the police in their tracks. I found this on InfoWars. I'm not going to list the site that it links. You can find it at InfoWars. That is what I am now doing to sites that have mandatory videos and pop-ups that play music that you can't shut off, so that I can't just leave it sit at the bottom of my screen. If you make an annoying site, I will tell everybody where I found it. I will not plagiarize you, be it Drudge, be it InfoWars, but I will not say where it was from. The name of this on Infowars.com, who links, is Police Kill 95-year-old Man with Beanbag Rounds. A 95-year-old resident at the Park Forest Senior Living Community, an old folks home, who died after a Friday confrontation with police, was killed by a beanbag rounds, more than one, that police fired at him at Cook County Medical Examiner's Office, determined following an autopsy today. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office had said that the cause of death of John Warner was hypopetronium, bleeding of the stomach area from blunt force trauma of the abdomen after he was shot with a beanbag gun. Warner, wielding a 12-inch blade and a cane, was shocked with a taser and then hit with a beanbag round. Beanbag rounds, again, I wish they'd make up their mind in this article. No, that's why they have all the pops up. They can't write. Beanbag rounds from police before later dying at Advocate Christ Medical Center in Oakland about 2:30 a.m. Saturday, according to authorities. Wow, there should be an advocate. The police say that they feel like they followed proper procedure and that he was a threat. My dad passed on of cancer when he was recovering in an old folks home, and I'll tell you, man, those people with canes are just deadly. I used to drive taxi when we do these medical deliveries. And I remember this old lady grabbed a hold of me once and was like, obvious dementia. Well, for those of you that don't know, no matter what size you are, if anybody grabs you, twist towards their thumb. Remember, it is answering the phone. If you could twist out of anything. Well, she grabbed me and I just lightly did the same thing and patted her on the shoulder and kept going. Those old folks can grab you, so you shoot him with beanbags because he has a cane and a knife. And yet the paramilitary show up at your 17-year-old son's door because he's stupid enough to sell drugs, and you can't pierce them with a knife because when you're calling in to make that arrest, you can't jeopardize your officers. But for the old man, of course, you just send send the cop with bear sleeves? A 95-year-old man? It's getting out of control, people. Last one from InfoWars. Court rules cops don't need a warrant to track cell phones. What about being secure in your person and your paper? I'm going to keep going back to this because our laws, our police, and our entire structure of society is slowly but surely being destroyed for us. And if we don't look at these things and start making society understand that there is so much more to life than what you are seeing, then they're going to go ahead and keep doing this. And soon we're not going to even have a nation that even resembles America anymore. Forget about the burning of Jews, okay? Think about the way in World War II, Stalin's Russia, and for those of you that don't know, he was on our side. Look at the way his police treated the citizenry. Now on the other side of the coin, look at the way Adolf Hitler's police treated the citizenry. It was just as bad. Both sides were evil. When Hitler went into Russia, people on the way to Stalingrad were cheering the Nazis as saviors. And then, of course, the Nazis butchered them because they were communists. Both sides were evil. But prior to that, prior to the war, Stalin's Russia, who was our ally in World War II, and Nazi Germany were two different sides. One side was fascist, one side was communist. Their police were dreadful. America used to be a beacon and a protection against this, and we're not anymore. The United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit delivered another blow to the Fourth Amendment this week when it ruled the police do not need a warrant to track cell phones. The court ruled that because cell phone records are owned by phone providers, the user has no expectation of privacy and thus no search warrant is required to access the data. Well, that is entirely untrue because the contract is the person's, for one thing. Another thing I would like to know, I should say, is when are we going to find Liberty telephone, cell phone companies opening up? Companies like StartPage do online that refuse to turn over any of this data to anyone for anything at any time for any reason. Done. That's what we need to see. The court did not address whether people have a reasonable expectation of privacy in their movements and made clear its direction only concerned obtaining historical site records when a user makes or ends a call. So they don't know whether or not it's legal to track you. They didn't want to mention that. But it might be. So does that mean you don't have to pay your taxes because you have the papers there? And technically they're your papers, so the IRS doesn't have to see them, right? When we start turning their words around on them, we'll find that tyranny ends. And the last thing I'm going to get to before I jump off, guys, sorry to give you such a downer show, by the way, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be real. If the cops are being awful, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fight them. I don't mean physically. If anybody hurts or assaults or threatens a cop because of anything in this show, do not credit to me. I am in favor of peaceful rebellion through refusal, not anybody being hurt. So when I talk about fighting, I want to be clear. Reason.com, last thing I'm going to get to. Cops fired for speaking out against ticket and arrest quotas. Reason.com. This is what a hero is. You want to hear me say something good about a cop? This man was a hero. An absolute hero. Auburn, Alabama is home to sprawling plains, Auburn University, and the troubling police force. After the arrival of a new police chief in 2010, it says that the department entered an era of ticket quotas and worse. Anybody ever have a telemarketing hell job like I have? There's quotas, a certain number you have to hit, and if you don't hit that number, you will be written up or fired. Well, if you give police officers quotas, then what you're doing is saying, well, statistically, there will be this many people doing something. Well, anybody that's ever had a telemarketing job knows that the quotas are lies. That many people are not given to say yes. But they say that so that they can hire you and then fire you before your benefits or raises kick in, and it lets them keep turning it over. Well, what this does, when you do it to police officers, it leads to corruption. And as somebody who's had to pad sales when I was in telemarketing just to eat, I think it's very important to realize that they will lie and say that you did something when you didn't. The light was yellow, they'll say it's red, you automatically lose because he lied. And that's what happens. Well, they're caught doing this out here, and watch this. When I first heard about the quotas, I was appalled, says former Auburn police officer Justin Hanners, who claims he and other cops were given directives to hassle, ticket, and arrest specific numbers of residents per shift. I got into law enforcement to serve and protect, not be a bully. God bless you, Mr. Hanners. It says he blew the whistle on the department's tactics and was eventually fired for refusing to comply and keep quiet. He says that each officer was required to make 100 contacts each month, which included tickets, arrests, field interviews, and warnings. This equates to 72,000 contacts a year in a 500,000 person town. What is it? The Wild West and during the worst of the shoot 'em up days? His claims are backed by audio recordings of his supervisors. The Auburn Police Department declined requests to be interviewed for this story. I bet they did. There are not many speeders. There are not that many people running red lights to get those numbers. So what the police do is they lower their standards. In other words, lie, says Hanners. That led to the department encouraging officers to arrest people that Haynes did not feel had broken the law at all. Former Reason staffer, it goes on, Radley Balco, now an investigative reporter for the Huffington Post, and author of the new book, Rise of the Warrior Cop, says that this isn't just a nuisance, it infringes on public safety. You have the police, and they encourage, you have a policy, that creates police to create petty crimes and ignore serious crimes, and that's clearly the opposite of what we want our police to be doing. But that's what generates money for the state, even if you have to lie. Get that money going for the city. Hanners repeatedly voiced his concern through his chain of command, and the department responded to these requirements are necessary for increasing productivity. Oh, so framing somebody with even a small crime, that's still framing. That's considered increasing productivity. So if, the telemarketer signs you up for something that you said you weren't sure that you wanted to get, that's just increasing productivity. Hanners firmly believes that quotas are entirely revenue-driven. Yes, they completely are. I had no intention of dropping it, he said. This is a problem in more places than Auburn, and I think once the people know that they can hold their public officials accountable, it'll change. God bless him. The police chief signaled on Hanners retired this July, citing medical reasons. Guys, there you go. Now, there were 5 or 6 stories I didn't get to because I didn't want to kick a dead horse here. In closing, don't hurt any police officers. But think about some of the ideas I've put out there. Think about that, setting up in a state a mass refusal to pay any of these tickets, any of these fines. Do not renew your license. Do you know that renewing your driver's license is double taxation? The most they should have you do is prove that your eyes are good, and you should be able to do that through the mail. You're listening to The Correct Views. Good night, my friends. God bless. For those of you that hate Obamacare, remember they made you have auto insurance first, and you didn't get mad, did you? It's a slippery slope. Just wait till they make you do it to your house. Yeah, how many of you got free money from the government? How long do you think it's mandatory? Friends, you're listening to The Correct Views. I could go on forever. Please donate to the show if you can. Every penny you give to me goes towards a better show. Also, go to the Media Speaks. Look up the work of Kyle Court, D-Lake, and myself. And don't forget Dana Mobley Christ at the Charity Connection. She runs a charity, and she herself has lung cancer, so I am doing everything in my power to get all of you to donate there and help her beat it. Thank you for listening, friends. Good night, and God bless.